I never thought my life would change so drastically at 31. Mornings were predictable, filled with the comforting routine of breakfast, school runs, and work. I cherished these moments, especially seeing Harper and the kids start their day. But Harper was restless. 4 years of being a stay at home mom had taken a toll on her. She needed something more, something just for herself. One evening, as we sat on the porch after putting the kids to bed, Harper turned to me with a determined look in her eyes. Liam, I need to talk to you about something, she began, her voice steady but with a hint of desperation. I put down my book and gave her my full attention. What's on your mind? I want to get a job, she said, the words coming out in a rush. I love being with the kids, but I need something more. I miss adult conversations, the feeling of being productive outside the house. I looked at her, seeing the longing in her eyes. It wasn't just about work. It was about reclaiming a part of herself she felt she had lost. Of course, Harper, I understand, I replied gently. What kind of job are you thinking about? Something part-time, maybe at a cafe or a small office, she said, her eyes brightening. I just need a few hours a day to feel like myself again. A week later, Harper found a job at a small cafe in town. It wasn't glamorous, but it was perfect for her. She would handle sushi deliveries and some light office work. The kids and I saw her off on her first day, the excitement and nervousness palpable. Good luck, Mom, our daughter cheered, hugging her tightly. You'll do great, I added, giving her a reassuring smile. As the days passed, I noticed a change in Harper. She was happier, more energetic. She spoke about her coworkers, especially Ethan, the chef, with enthusiasm. One evening, she shared a conversation that stood out to her. Ethan told me he hopes I stick around, she said, her voice thoughtful. He's tired of new faces coming and going. Really? Why do people leave so often? I asked, curious. He didn't go into details, but I got the feeling the turnover is high, she replied, a slight frown creasing her forehead. Despite the high turnover, Harper loved her job. It gave her a sense of purpose and independence. I was happy for her, but I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was off. Harper's late hours and secretive phone calls started to bother me. I tried to shake off the doubts, reminding myself that she deserved this break. One night, as we lay in bed, I decided to voice my concerns. Harper, is everything okay at work? I asked gently. You seem a bit distant lately. She turned to me, her eyes wide with surprise. What do you mean? I don't know. It's just a feeling, I admitted. You're happy, and that's great. But I feel like you're keeping something from me. She sighed, reaching out to take my hand. Liam, there's nothing to worry about. I'm just adjusting to the new routine. I promise, everything is fine. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. So I pushed the doubts aside and focused on the positives. Harper was happy, and that was what mattered most. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that our lives were about to change in ways I couldn't yet understand. The awakening had begun, and there was no turning back. Harper's new job brought a spark back into her life. She was more cheerful, more engaged, and there was a lightness to her step that I hadn't seen in years. It was as if the cafe job had given her a new sense of purpose. Every evening, she would come home with stories about her day. She would talk about the regulars of the cafe, the quirky orders, and, of course, her coworkers. I enjoyed seeing her so animated, even if a part of me missed the days when she was always home. One evening, as I was helping our daughter with her homework, Harper walked in, looking particularly happy. You won't believe what happened today, she exclaimed, dropping her bag on the kitchen table. I looked up, smiling. What's up? Harper leaned against the counter, her eyes sparkling. Ethan taught me how to make sushi. It was so much fun. He's really patient and explained everything step by step. Sounds like you had a good time, I said, trying to ignore the slight pang of jealousy. Ethan seemed to be a constant presence in her stories. He's great, Harper replied. He's been really supportive and has made me feel so welcome. I nodded, masking my unease. I'm glad you're fitting in. Over the next few weeks, Harper's routine at the cafe became more established. She found a rhythm that worked for her, balancing work and family life with newfound energy. One night, as we sat on the porch again, she opened up about how much the job meant to her. You know, Liam, this job has really changed things for me, she said, her voice soft and reflective. I looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. How so? I feel like I've found a piece of myself that I lost somewhere along the way, she admitted. Being a mom is wonderful, but I needed something that was just mine. This job has given me that. I understand, I said quietly. I just want you to be happy. I am, she replied, squeezing my hand. Thank you for supporting me. But with new beginnings come new challenges. Harper started spending more time at the cafe, often staying late to help with closing or attending work events. One night, she came home well past the kids' bedtime, looking tired but content. How was your day? I asked as she slipped off her shoes. Busy, she said with a sigh, collapsing onto the couch. But good. We had a staff meeting, and Ryder and Miles were there. Oh, what did they say? I asked, curious about her bosses. They were really complimentary, Harper said, a small smile playing on her lips. They said they appreciate my hard work and dedication. It was nice to hear. I'm glad they recognize your efforts, I replied, though I couldn't help but feel a twinge of unease. Just don't overwork yourself. I won't, she promised, leaning her head on my shoulder. It's just nice to feel valued, you know. I get that, I said, wrapping my arm around her. Just remember, we value you too. You're important to us. Harper looked up at me, her eyes filled with gratitude. I know, Liam, and I love you all so much. This job is just something extra. I nodded, hoping that was true. As Harper drifted off to sleep in my arms, I couldn't shake the feeling that these new beginnings, while exciting, might also bring unforeseen complications. For now, I chose to focus on the present, enjoying the happiness that Harper's job had brought into our lives, even as I remained vigilant for any storm clouds on the horizon. As Harper settled into her new job, I couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in her behavior. At first, they were small things, easy to dismiss. She started spending more time on her appearance, dressing a bit more carefully before heading to the cafe. She seemed more guarded with her phone, quickly locking it when I walked into the room. I tried to push these thoughts aside, telling myself I was being paranoid. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I decided to bring it up. Harper was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Harper, can we talk? I asked, sitting down beside her. She looked up, slightly startled. Sure, what's on your mind? I've noticed you've been different lately, I began, choosing my words carefully. More secretive, I guess. Is everything okay? Harper sighed, setting her phone down. Liam, everything is fine. It's just work. It's been a bit hectic, and I've been trying to keep up. I understand that, I said, but it feels like there's something you're not telling me. She looked at me, her eyes softening. I promise, there's nothing to worry about. I'm just trying to balance everything. The kids, work, us. It's a lot. I wanted to believe her, so I nodded. All right. Just know you can talk to me about anything. I know, she said, leaning in to kiss me. Thank you for understanding. Despite her reassurances, the unsettling signs continued. Harper started working late more often, sometimes coming home long after the kids were asleep. One night, as I was finishing up some work in the study, I heard her come in. Hey, you're home late again, I said, walking into the living room. Yeah, sorry about that, she replied, looking exhausted. We had a big order come in last minute, and Ethan needed my help. Ethan again, huh? I said, trying to keep my tone light. Harper looked at me, a hint of annoyance in her eyes. Yes, Ethan. He's my coworker, Liam. We work together. I know, I said quickly. It's just, you talk about him a lot. He's a good friend, she said, her tone defensive. Can we not make a big deal out of this? Okay, I said, raising my hands in surrender. I just want to make sure everything's all right. It is, she replied, brushing past me to head upstairs. I'm going to bed. Good night, Liam. Good night, I murmured, watching her go. The next few weeks were more of the same. Harper's late nights became a regular occurrence, and the distance between us grew. I tried to distract myself with work and the kids, but the nagging doubts wouldn't leave me alone. One Saturday afternoon, while Harper was at work, I decided to take the kids to the park. As they played, I sat on a bench, lost in thought, My phone buzzed, and I saw a message from an unknown number. If you want to know the truth, meet me at the Red Lion pub tonight, 7 p.m. Ethan. My heart pounded in my chest. What could Ethan possibly want to tell me? That evening, I made up an excuse about needing to meet an old friend and headed to the pub. I spotted Ethan sitting at a corner table, looking nervous. Thanks for meeting me, he said as I sat down. What's this about, Ethan? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a deep breath. Liam, there's something you need to know about Harper and her relationship with Ryder and Miles. My stomach churned. What are you saying? They've been giving her a lot of attention, he said carefully. More than just professional. I've seen things that make me uncomfortable. Like what? I demanded. Flirting, private meetings, staying late together, Ethan listed. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but you deserve to know. I sat back, my mind racing. Why are you telling me this? Because I can't stand by and watch it happen, Ethan said, his eyes earnest. You need to talk to Harper, Liam. Find out what's really going on. I nodded, feeling a heavy weight settle in my chest. Thank you for telling me, Ethan. As I walked home that night, my thoughts were a whirlwind of confusion and fear. The unsettling signs were more than just my imagination. Something was happening, and I needed to find out the truth. The next few days were a blur. Ethan's words kept replaying in my mind, adding to the unease that had been building for weeks. Harper continued to stay late at work, and our conversations became more strained. I knew I had to confront her, but I was afraid of what I might find out. One Friday evening, as the kids were playing in the living room, I decided it was time to talk to Harper. She had just come home, looking tired but content. Harper, we need to talk, I said, my voice serious. She looked at me, concern flashing in her eyes. What's wrong, Liam? Can we go outside? I don't want the kids to hear, I replied. We stepped out onto the porch, the cool evening air doing little to calm my nerves. What's going on? Harper asked, crossing her arms. I met with Ethan the other night. I began, watching her reaction closely. Her eyes widened. Why did you do that? He contacted me. He said there's something I need to know about you and Ryder and Miles. I said, my heart pounding. Harper's face paled. What did he tell you? That you've been getting a lot of attention from them. More than just professional, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Harper, what's going on? She looked away, tears filling her eyes. Liam, I didn't want to hurt you. Hurt me? What are you talking about? I asked, fear creeping into my voice. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. It started with innocent flirting, but then... But then what? I demanded, my patience wearing thin. Harper took a deep breath, tears streaming down her face. Ryder and Miles, they made me feel special, appreciated. I got caught up in it. I never meant for it to go this far. I stared at her, disbelief washing over me. How far did it go, Harper? She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. There were a few times. In the office, when we stayed late. I'm so sorry, Liam. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. My worst fears were confirmed. Harper, the woman I loved and trusted, had betrayed me. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice breaking. I was scared, she admitted. I didn't want to lose you or the kids. I thought I could handle it, that it wouldn't go this far. I turned away, trying to process everything. The love of my life had been unfaithful, and the reality of it was too much to bear. I need some time, I said finally, my voice hollow. I can't deal with this right now. Harper nodded, tears still streaming down her face. I understand. I'm so sorry, Liam. I never meant to hurt you. I walked away, leaving her standing on the porch. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, betrayal. I didn't know what to do or where to go from here. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying our conversation over and over. Harper's words echoed in my mind, each one a dagger to my heart. The next morning, I decided I needed to confront Ryder and Miles. I couldn't let them get away with what they had done. I drove to the cafe, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. When I arrived, I marched straight to Ryder's office. Liam, what are you doing here? Ryder asked, looking surprised. I need to talk to you, I said, my voice firm. He glanced at Miles, who was sitting nearby. About what? About Harper, I said, feeling my anger rise. I know what you've been doing with her. It ends now. Ryder's face darkened. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I snapped. She told me everything. You took advantage of her, made her feel special, just to satisfy your own needs. Miles stood up, looking defensive. You've got it all wrong, Liam. Do I? I challenged. Then explain it to me. Explain how my wife ended up feeling so neglected that she turned to you two for validation. Ryder sighed, rubbing his temples. Look, Liam, we never meant to cause any harm. It just happened. Just happened. I echoed, my voice filled with disbelief. You don't just happen to have an affair with a married woman. You manipulated her, and now my family is falling apart because of it. Ryder and Miles exchanged glances, but neither of them said anything. I could see the guilt in their eyes. I want you to stay away from her, I said finally. If I hear that either of you so much as talks to her outside of work, I will make sure you regret it. Without waiting for a response, I turned and walked out of the office. My heart was heavy, but I knew I had done what I needed to do. Harper's betrayal had broken something inside me, but I wasn't going to let these men destroy my family completely. As I drove home, I thought about what lay ahead. Harper and I had a long road to recovery, if that was even possible. Trust had been shattered, and it would take time to rebuild. But for the sake of our children, and for the love we once shared, I knew I had to try. The days that followed Harper's confession were the hardest of my life. The house felt like a battlefield, filled with the tension of unspoken words and the heaviness of broken trust. Our children sensed something was wrong, but we did our best to shield them from the worst of it. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the cup of coffee in front of me. Harper walked in, her face pale and drawn. Liam, can we talk? She asked softly. I nodded, not looking up. Sure. She sat down across from me, wringing her hands. I know I hurt you, and I know saying sorry isn't enough, but I need you to know that I never wanted this to happen. I know, I replied, my voice flat. But it did happen, Harper, and now we have to deal with it. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. I love you, Liam. I don't want to lose our family. I don't know if things can ever be right again, I admitted, finally meeting her gaze. You broke my trust. How do we come back from that? I don't know all the answers, she said, her voice breaking. But I'm willing to try. Please, just give me a chance to make it up to you. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. It's not that simple. We can't just go back to how things were. I know, Harper said, reaching across the table to take my hand. But maybe we can start with small steps. Can we at least try counseling? For us and for the kids. I hesitated, the thought of talking to a stranger about our problems feeling overwhelming. But I knew she was right. We needed help if we were going to have any chance of moving forward. All right, I agreed reluctantly. We'll try counseling. But Harper, this is going to take time, and things will never be the same. I understand, she said, squeezing my hand. Thank you, Liam. Thank you for giving us a chance. The next few weeks were a blur of counseling sessions and difficult conversations. Our therapist, Dr. Mitchell, helped us navigate the painful waters of betrayal and trust. Harper was committed to making things right, and I could see her trying, but the pain was still fresh. One afternoon, after a particularly intense session, Dr. Mitchell asked us to stay behind for a moment. I can see that both of you are committed to working through this, she said, her voice calm and reassuring. But it's important to remember that healing takes time. There will be setbacks, and it's okay to feel angry and hurt. The key is to keep communicating, even when it's hard. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell, I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. We'll keep that in mind. As we left her office, Harper turned to me. Do you think we'll ever be okay again? I don't know, I admitted, but I'm willing to try, for us and for the kids. Harper smiled, a hint of the woman I fell in love with shining through. That's all I can ask for. Despite our efforts, the fallout from Harper's affair was far-reaching. Word got out among our friends and neighbors, and suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Some offered support while others cast judgment. It was a lonely time, and I often found myself retreating into my own thoughts. One evening, I ran into Ethan at the grocery store. He looked uncomfortable, but approached me nonetheless. Liam, can we talk for a minute? He asked, shifting nervously. Sure, I said, feeling a mix of gratitude and resentment toward him. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for how everything turned out, he said, his voice sincere. I never wanted to cause any trouble. I thought you deserved to know the truth. I appreciate that, I replied, my tone guarded. But knowing the truth doesn't make it any easier. I understand, Ethan said. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. Thanks, I said, feeling a bit of the tension ease. I appreciate it. As I walked away, I realized that the road to healing was going to be long and hard, but I was determined to take it one step at a time. Harper and I had a lot of work to do, but for the sake of our family, I was willing to try. Rebuilding our life after the fallout was like trying to piece together a shattered vase. The cracks were visible, and some pieces were too small to fit back, but we were determined to try. The first step was finding a new routine, one that included counseling, honest conversations, and making time for each other. One Saturday morning, Harper and I sat on the porch, sipping coffee. The kids were playing in the yard, their laughter a comforting reminder of what we were fighting for. Liam, I've been thinking, Harper began, her voice hesitant. Maybe we should plan a weekend getaway, just the two of us. It might help us reconnect. I looked at her, considering the idea. Where would we go? Somewhere quiet, she suggested. A cabin in the woods or a beach house, just a place where we can focus on us. All right, I agreed, feeling a flicker of hope. Let's do it. We could use some time away. Planning the trip gave us something to look forward to. Harper found a cozy cabin a few hours away, and we arranged for the kids to stay with their grandparents. As the weekend approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Could we really find our way back to each other? The drive to the cabin was peaceful, the scenery a soothing balm to our frayed nerves. When we arrived, we unpacked and settled in, the quiet of the forest surrounding us. That evening, we sat by the fireplace, the warmth and flickering light creating a cozy atmosphere. Harper poured us each a glass of wine, and we settled into the comfortable silence. Liam, I know I've said it 100 times, but I'm so sorry for everything, Harper said, her voice filled with emotion. I want to make things right between us. I know you do, I replied, reaching for her hand. And I'm trying to move past it. But it's hard, Harper. Some days, I don't know if I can. We've come this far, she said softly. We can't give up now. I nodded, squeezing her hand. You're right, we can't. The next day, we went for a hike. The crisp air and stunning views a welcome distraction. As we walked, we talked about everything. Our fears, our hopes, our dreams for the future. It felt good to open up, to share our thoughts and feelings without the weight of the past hanging over us. Do you remember when we first met? Harper asked, smiling at the memory. How we stayed up all night talking about everything under the sun. I remember, I said, a smile tugging at my lips. It felt like we'd known each other forever. Can we get back to that? She asked, her eyes hopeful. I think we can, I replied. It's going to take time, but we can get there. As the weekend came to an end, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in months, I believed we had a chance. Harper and I returned home, determined to keep the momentum going. We continued our counseling sessions, each one bringing us a little closer to understanding and forgiveness. The kids noticed the change too, their smiles and laughter more frequent as the tension in the house eased. One evening, after tucking the kids into bed, Harper and I sat in the living room, enjoying a rare moment of peace. I've been thinking about something, Harper said, her tone serious. What's that? I asked, curious. I want to volunteer at the community center, she said. I think it would be good for me to give back, to focus on something positive. That sounds like a great idea, I said, genuinely pleased. I think it would be good for you too. Harper smiled, a look of determination in her eyes. Thank you, Liam, for supporting me, for giving us a chance. We're in this together, I said, feeling a sense of solidarity. We always have been. As we sat there, the future seemed a little brighter. The cracks in our relationship were still there, but they were slowly being filled with hope, love, and a renewed commitment to each other. Rebuilding wasn't easy, but it was worth it. For our family, for our love, and for the life we were determined to create together. Rebuilding our life together wasn't easy, but we had come a long way. The final step was to fully embrace the changes that had taken place, not just in our relationship, but in our lives. We had to let go of the past and look forward to the future with hope and determination. One sunny afternoon, Harper and I sat in the backyard, watching the kids play. The warm breeze carried the sounds of their laughter, a beautiful reminder of why we fought so hard to stay together. Lamb, Harper began, her voice gentle. I've been thinking a lot about what comes next for us. I looked at her, sensing the seriousness in her tone. What do you mean? We've done a lot of healing, but I feel like there's more we can do, she said. I want us to try new things, to make new memories. I think it will help us move forward. I agree, I said, nodding. What do you have in mind? I've always wanted to learn how to dance, she admitted with a shy smile. What if we took dance classes together? It could be fun and give us something to look forward to. I chuckled, imagining the two of us trying to learn dance steps. I've got 2 left feet, but I'm willing to give it a try if you are. Harper's face lit up with excitement. Really? That would be amazing. As we planned our first dance class, I felt a sense of renewal. Trying something new together was a perfect way to embrace the changes in our lives and strengthen our bond. A few weeks later, we walked into a small dance studio, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The instructor, a cheerful woman named Linda, greeted us warmly. Welcome. I'm Linda, and I'll be your instructor, she said, shaking our hands. Are you ready to have some fun? We sure are, Harper replied, squeezing my hand. The first class was awkward but filled with laughter. Harper and I stumbled through the steps, stepping on each other's toes more times than we could count. But we didn't mind. We were learning something new together, and that was what mattered. As the weeks passed, we got better at dancing, and it became something we looked forward to. It wasn't just about learning the steps, it was about connecting in a new way, finding joy in each other's company. One evening, after a particularly good class, we sat in the car, catching our breath. I never thought dancing could be this much fun, I said, smiling at Harper. Me neither, she agreed. But it's not just the dancing. It's doing it with you that makes it special. I reached over and took her hand. I'm glad we're doing this. It feels like a new chapter in our lives. It does, she said, leaning in to kiss me. Thank you for embracing this change with me. Embracing change also meant finding new ways to connect with our kids. We started a family game night where we would play board games, watch movies, or go for evening walks. It became a cherished tradition, something we all looked forward to each week. One Friday evening, as we sat around the dining table playing a board game, our daughter looked up at us with a thoughtful expression. Mom, Dad, you seem really happy lately, she said. We are, sweetheart, Harper replied, smiling at her. We've been working hard to make our family stronger. I'm glad, our daughter said, her face lighting up. I like it when we're all happy together. Our son nodded in agreement. Me too. Can we keep doing game nights forever? Absolutely, I said, feeling a swell of pride. This is our new tradition. As we continued to play, I realized that embracing change wasn't just about big gestures or new activities. It was about finding joy in the little things, appreciating each moment, and cherishing the time we had together. Harper and I had faced one of the hardest challenges of our lives, but we had come out stronger on the other side. Embracing change meant letting go of the past, learning from our mistakes, and moving forward with hope and love. Our journey wasn't over, but we were ready for whatever came next. We had each other, and that was enough. Together, we could face anything and continue to build a life filled with happiness, love, and endless possibilities.